Abomination Vaults. Chapter 8. Decaying Gardens. Content warning. While Abomination Vaults contains typical Pathfinder action and adventure, it also presents themes of suicide, ableism, body horror, and human experimentation. Before you begin, understand that player consent, including that of the Game Master, is vital to a safe and fun play experience for everyone. You should talk with your players before beginning and modify descriptions or scenarios as appropriate. Chapter 8 Synopsis. The chapter begins with the heroes descending into the overgrown farm level from either entrance in the prison level above. The primary denizens, other than the feral monsters, are listless undead gnomes and addled Caligny cultists, both of whom can provide some clues about Belcorra's return. The heroes will likely face Belcorra in person for the first time, but certainly not the last. Environmental cues, glowing moss, creeping tendrils of mould, decaying wood, distant splashing, foul mists, muddy footprints, smells of earthy rot, towering fungi. Chapter 8 Treasure. The permanent and consumable items available as treasure in Chapter 8 are as follows: +1 composite longbow, +1 composite shortbow, +1 repeating hand crossbow, +1 striking longsword, +1 striking shortsword, +1 striking warflail, armbands of athleticism, barkskin potion, black smear poison, crimson fulcrum lens, dust of disappearance, eyes of the eagle, gloom blade, greater braces of missile deflection, greater cheater's elixir, greater staff of healing, jade bauble, javelin of lightning, lethargy poison, moderate bravo's brew, moderate healing potion, murderer's knot, potion of quickness, standard grey dark wood shield, stupor poison, thundering runestone, wand of fireball, wand of magic missile 3rd level. Gauntlight is active, but its true power is yet to be realised. Belcorra penetrated deep underground to build Gauntlight's foundation, following the psychic pull of the Empty Vault, a place sacred to Nimbroloth, the heart of an ancient subterranean temple. Gauntlight draws upon the energies of the Empty Vault as its foundation and the source of its powers. Within the Empty Vault, Belcorra empowered 4 fulcrum lenses that, when installed in the lighthouse above, focuses Nimbroloth's attention and unleashes the artifact's full power. But the fulcrum lenses are dangerous. They invite Nimbroloth's uncaring gaze, and even Belcorra can't withstand the scrutiny of the outer god. Thus, though they hold great power, the fulcrum lenses are also Belcorra's greatest weakness. Belcorra repurposed the massive natural caverns above the Empty Vault for her needs. The 8th level made a lush cavern of fungus growths and freshwater lakes that teemed with subterranean fish, while the 9th level was a wilderness where predators and prey alike could thrive. Heroes must descend through these levels to reach the Empty Vault. Children of Belcorra. Uninterested in administering these vast caverns herself, Belcorra enthralled deep gnomes already living there, compelling them with threats and favours to tend her subterranean farm. She dubbed these loyal diminutive gardeners the Children of Belcorra. The Children of Belcorra disbelieved rumours of Belcorra's death as some sort of trick or a test and didn't waver in their duties. But as the years passed, more and more feral monsters made their way into the level and made their mission in the farm more difficult. Believing that Belcorra, or perhaps some other Haraveks, would return, the children chose to become undead to combat their dwindling numbers and increasing age. They immured each other in muddy shores to rise again as bog mummies, or undertook difficult transformations into other, more powerful undead. Eventually, their timeless lives and lack of direction took their toll. Many children fell into a torpor, or retreated into obsession or isolation. The farm they carefully tended to became infested with monsters and subterranean explorers, such as Calignes, Drow, and Urdefens. Even Belcorra's return as the Ghost Queen couldn't quite energize all of the children of Belcorra into action, but many realized how much they had failed their charge. Belcorra gave the children a new mandate: to round up the various dangerous creatures of the farm level to serve her in an assault on the surface. She placed the children under the command of a new supervisor, a dark Naga named Vethris, but chose poorly. The Naga is corrupt, lazy, and more interested in her creature comforts than guiding the deep gnome undead in their tasks. The children of Belcorra aren't happy with the Naga's indolence, but they are reluctant to contradict their ghost queen. The pace of the children's work is, at best, plodding, and has done little to reduce the chaos in the garden. Wisps. Although Belcorra trusts the children, and their new overseer, Vethris, to put things in order on the farm level, she still keeps tabs on the area. A few willow wisps and dread wisps can communicate with the empty vault. They hover over basins filled with brackish swamp water and reeds that thrive despite the darkness. As they draw nourishment from their connection to the swamp fed by the empty vault, the wisps quickly inform Belcorra of any unexpected intruders, such as the heroes, leading her to make an appearance. Event: Belcorra attacks. Ghost stories work best when the ghost is an active and terrifying adversary. When any wisps in chapter 8 or 9 sees the hero, they immediately alert Belcorra through the magic of the swampy basins throughout the lower Abomination Vaults. Belcorra is worried to hear that the heroes have penetrated this far, and she resolves to harry them until the other dungeon denizens can overcome them. This event may occur multiple times in the last few chapters. Experience Award. Each time the heroes survive one of Belcorra's attacks, award them 30 experience points. Increase this to 80 experience points if they manage to defeat her in a confrontation and force her to rejuvenate. Using Belcorra effectively. During their trek through the lowest level of the Abomination Vaults, the heroes likely face Belcorra several times before they finally acquire the fulcrum lenses they need to defeat her for good. She learns about them from her wisp allies as previously described, and you can thereafter use her whenever her appearance might cause the most tension. She should attack at least once on each dungeon level, as often as every couple of days. You shouldn't have Belcorra fight alongside other creatures until the Adventure Path's finale. She's tough enough on her own. Each time Belcorra attacks, she learns more about how the heroes fight and adapts her tactics. She might cast the spell Immunity to protect herself from the hero's most effective spells, True Seeing to keep them in sight, or Dispel Magic to counter their magical defenses. She mocks the heroes for their failures and rages at their successes. Remember, she has been aware of them since her test firing of the Gauntlight's beam in Chapter 2. First attack. As soon as Belcorra realizes the hero's presence, she seeks them out, traveling through the Gauntlight's footprint in areas H37 and I-28. She casts Phantasmal Calamity at a distance and retreats, moving through walls if necessary so the heroes can't follow. Second attack. Belcorra wants the heroes to fear her, so she approaches more closely the second time and uses a single target spell like Feeble Mind and Phantasmal Killer, while demanding the heroes flee her Abomination Vaults. With her message delivered, she retreats after only a few rounds. Later attacks. Once the heroes have recovered a Fulcrum Lens, or the Fulcrum Lattice, Belcorra considers the heroes an actual threat, but her anger overrides her caution. She attacks with her full might, using her corrupting gaze and ghostly hands along with her spells. If she defeats a hero, she retreats, confident that now they'll leave her alone. Levering agents. Because Belcorra has several living allies within the Abomination Vaults, including the Erdefin cult and the Children of Belcorra, she might send these groups after the heroes, insisting they let the heroes know they're acting on Belcorra's orders. Fortunately, neither group can muster large numbers at once, so the heroes should be able to handle their attacks. Killing allies. Belcorra learns if the heroes make alliances, such as with the Calignes or Drow. She knows better than to face powerful entrenched leaders like Galudu or Quara, but she might murder a few guards or direct monsters where they can do the most damage to the heroes' allies. It's important to Belcorra that she leaves some evidence, usually a single injured survivor, to let the heroes know she orchestrated the attack. In the footprint. Belcorra is most effective fighting the heroes who entered the Gauntlet's footprint in areas H37 and I-28 due to her Haunted Lighthouse ability. The final attack. If the heroes defeat Belcorra shortly before they reach the empty vault, she uses the power of the Ebon Fulcrum Lens to hasten her rejuvenation so she can face them in her sanctum. Belcorra doesn't ever surrender or flee in the empty vault. The heroes could possibly face her there without yet having the ability to permanently defeat her. In this case, they'll need to retreat to collect the Fulcrum Lenses and return to face her again. Once the heroes can focus Nimbraloth's gaze upon Belcorra, they can defeat the sorcerer for good. The Cult of Urthagul. A group of Caligni refugees came to the hunting grounds years ago, fleeing some deeper calamity. Their two leaders, a spellcaster named Galudu and a warrior named Dulac, led them into the safety of an old lodge in the hunting grounds level. From there, the Calignis explored upwards, reaching an abandoned shrine of Nimbraloth, and eventually discovering a Gug mystic named Urthagul. Urthagul laired in a cave resonating with strange psychic whispers that awed the Calignis. Some of the Calignis, led by Dulac, revered the Gug and his eerie visions. Others remained skeptical of Urthagul's powers. This ultimately resulted in a schism. The self-named Cult of Urthagul inhabits the shrine, and Galudu's Calignis reside in the lodge below. The two groups aren't enemies, but they only rarely interact. The Cult of Urthagul has grown increasingly insular and zealous. Urthagul, for his part, hardly even noticed their presence, much less their worship. The Calignis hunt Chul eggs from the lake, ritually cooking and consuming them as part of their strange rites. Dulac and her second-in-command, Padli, have both gained occult powers from meditating on the whispers in Urthagul's cave, which they use to keep the cult in line. When Belcorra awakened, she visited the shrine to Nimbraloth and was surprised to find the Calignis there. She visited with Urthagul and found that the Gug's strange behaviour wasn't only due to the psychic emanations of the cave, but also because the Gug had found the Crimson Fulcrum Lens and communed with a splinter of Nimbraloth's essence inside of it. Belcorra realised the lens was probably safe in the Gug's claws, but she didn't want it to end up in the hands of some interloper cult she didn't have the time or desire to deal with. She tasks her Wisp minions to keep the Calignis contained within their shrine. It frustrates the cult to be apart from the object of their veneration. Dulac is desperate for a solution, so the heroes might find the Calignis eager to talk. Yldaris Drow. The Drow outpost of Yldaris lies on the next level of the Abomination Vaults, but their silent, skilled hunters have established a watch post in an abandoned Children of Belcorra outpost. The heroes might ally with the Drow there, which makes a peaceful meeting with Yldaris more likely in Chapter 9. Farm features. The vast caverns of this level and the many structures and rooms within are normally dark, though bioluminescent fungus is common in overgrown areas. The caverns reach 50 feet high, but the ceilings in rooms carved out of stone are much lower. Ceilings in the areas claimed by the Cult of Urthagul in areas H2 to H10 are only 10 feet high. Ceilings in other interior areas are sized for the children of Belcorra and are only 8 feet high. Sturdy planks of fungal wood form the doors. They are crusted with mould and give off an unpleasant, earthy, rotten smell. Area H1, Overgrown Stairs. The smell of rot and mildew pervades the air of this enclosed staircase. At the base, a moist carpet of fungus, slime, and mould grows thickly on the walls. The western wall of the passage contains a secret door leading into Gauntlight's footprint in area H37 that's magically locked and can't be broken open. A hero spots the door's faint outline with a successful DC 15 perception check. It has a concave indentation and only opens when touched with a fulcrum lens. Area H2, Hall of Eyes, a moderate level 8 encounter. 6 alcoves line the wall, 3 to the north and 3 to the south. The 4 easternmost alcoves each contain a large stone planter filled with muddy water that reeks like a dismal swamp. 2 scorch marks on the ground near the eastern door surround piles of dark rags. The pommel of a blade peeks out from underneath one of the rag piles. The basins are magically connected to the swamp in the temple level far below, in area J15. They remain filled with the swamp's waters, and the will-o-wisps here can use them to transmit images to Belcorra. The scorch marks and the rags are the remnants of 2 Calignes who ran afoul of this room's denizens. Creatures. A will-o-wisp hovers over each basin, although they at first appear to be merely decorative lights. They telepathically report on the hero's actions until they are attacked, or until the heroes try to leave this chamber. At that point, the will-o-wisps spring into action and fight until destroyed. Belcorra should attack the heroes, sometime shortly after this encounter. Treasure. 1 rag pile has a gloom blade in it. Area H3, Hazy Shrine, a low level 8 encounter. An unusual scent, as of burning fungus, is apparent to anyone approaching any doors of this chamber. A haze of smoke with pungent but not entirely unpleasant scent emanates from a large copper cauldron atop a bed of coals on a dais to the east. A metal rack over the basin holds several brown and purple eggs, each about the size of a human head, cooking in the smoke. The walls are painted with sweeping lines and whorls. Belcorra crafted these chambers centuries ago as both a shrine to Nimbroloth and as a base to study the strange visionary effects of the island caves in area H12. Calignes of the Cult of Urthagul now use this room for prayer and meditation, and to cook the chul eggs they have harvested from the lake. The ones being cooked now are the last of the cult's current store of eggs. The secret door to the lodge on the lower level is hidden amid the abstract patterns painted on the west wall. The Calignes know about the secret door, but are reluctant to reveal it. A hero searching this room finds the door and the hidden knob to open it with a successful DC 25 perception check. The door's other side has an obvious latch mechanism that isn't hidden. Creatures. 6 Calignes meditate here and attack if disturbed. They believe their death flames empower Urthagul, so they fight tenaciously to the death. Area H4, Storage. This square chamber is filled with a jumble of open boxes, casks, bundles of torches, and faintly glowing plants. This storage chamber is a mess because the Calignes have haphazardly thrown supplies in here over the years. The plants are bioluminescent reeds that retain their glow for weeks after being harvested, and they provide dim light here. Most casks contain the meaty dried mushrooms Calignes favour, although their gritty taste makes them practically inedible for other creatures. Treasure. A hero searching through this room uncovers 3 beautiful amethysts worth 20 gold pieces each. Area H5. Cult Barracks. This drab chamber contains a few bedrolls and a box with several earthen mugs atop it. A desk holds a stack of paper. Rank and file members of the Cult of Urthagul all sleep in 8 bedrolls here. The bedrolls contain nothing of interest. Some cult members are mapping the Abomination Vaults in hopes of finding an easy way around the Wisps to reach Urthagul again. Their map is on the desk. They've mapped out areas H2 to H14 and drawn several lobster-like shapes in the water between areas H13 and H14 to represent the Chulls. Several angry ball-like shapes in areas H2 and H10 represent the new Wisps. They've also mapped out areas I-22 and I-26 and the connecting staircase. The secret door in area H8 isn't noted. Area H6. Padli's chamber, a moderate level 8 encounter. This room is a jumble of pillows, furs, blankets and rugs. Several empty jugs litter the floor. While Dulac is studious and intense, her second in command, Padli, is a selfish and gregarious hedonist. He favours mushroom wine, and the jugs around this room once held the earthy intoxicating beverage. Creatures. For all his hedonism, Padli is no less devout than Dulac, and he sees any intrusion here as an assault on the faithful. Padli lets his companions take the brunt of melee attacks, and hangs back to cast spells. The Calignes here have no interest in parley or quarter. Treasure. Amid the comforts of the room is a small pouch with 25 gold pieces, 10 silver pieces, and a greater cheater's elixir. Area H7. Prison. This room is locked on the outside. Padli has the only key. The hero can open it with 4 successful DC 25 thievery checks to pick a lock, or a successful DC 29 athletics check to force it open. A single prisoner waits inside, an Urdefan warrior named Huglu, whom the Calignes recently captured. The Calignes have denied Huglu food and water to get information out of him, but the stubborn warrior would rather die than tell his captors anything. He's currently pretending to be dead to catch his abductors off guard, but his deception DC is only 12. The heroes likely see through this ruse. Getting any information out of Huglu is virtually impossible, as the evil warrior's only desire is to inflict as much death and destruction as he can before oblivion. Diplomacy attempts to improve Huglu's hostile attitude don't work, though the heroes might get information out of him with deception checks to lie or intimidation checks to coerce compliance. The DC for these checks is 19, which is both his will DC and his perception DC. On a success, Huglu relays his name, that he was caught near the door in area H9, that he serves a great war champion named Kefel, and that his people control the territory at the bottom of a nearby chasm in area H34. Huglu sprinkles this information with threats against the heroes, and promises to drink the heroes and the Calignes' blood. On a critical success, however, Huglu omits these threats. If the heroes free Huglu, he returns to them as soon as he thinks he can kill one of them, before being killed himself. Experience Award. Award the heroes 30 experience points for getting information about the Urdefans from Huglu. Area H8. Dulac's Chambers, a moderate level 8 encounter. This sparsely appointed chamber contains a single mat in the far corner of the room, and a small desk on the south wall with an iron strongbox sitting under it. A bowl with some grey gruel and a spoon are the only items on the desk. This chamber serves as quarters for a severe Caligny woman named Dulac, the head of the Cult of Urthagul. She has granted herself the title of custodian to demonstrate her humble subservience to Urthagul. Once a very active and vital leader, she drew the attention of an Alp, one of the malevolent manipulators of the Caligny community. The Alp spends his time in the secret chamber off this room, twisting Dulac's faith. Dulac's control and self-confidence took a severe blow when Belcorra stationed the Will-O-Wisps around the cultist domain. Cut off from Urthagul's bizarre babblings and strange insights, Dulac isn't sure what to do next. The Alb offers vague assurances, but he secretly likes seeing the cult crumble and doesn't want contact with Urthagul restored. A hero who searches this room and succeeds at a DC 25 perception check discovers the secret door in the east wall, as well as the hidden latch that must be pulled and turned to open it. The room is empty. The Alb needs no comforts, only solitude. Creatures. Custodian Dulac and the Alb are in here in close conversation. They fight intruders, but if the heroes give any indication that they're willing to talk, Dulac ceases hostilities to hear them out. However, the Alb presses the attack to silence the heroes. If the Alb is defeated and Dulac is reduced to fewer than 30 hit points, she surrenders. Side quest. If the heroes parley with Dulac, she proposes a deal. If the heroes gather more Chul eggs and eliminate the Wisps on the fringes of the cult's territory, Dulac will make them formal allies of the cult. As allies, they can rest in the shrine whenever they'd like. Further, she can grant them safe passage through the Caligni territory in the lodge. She warns that the Caligni defenders on the lower level aren't likely to speak with the heroes without Dulac's good word. Treasure. The iron strongbox holds one small pouch containing 13 gold pieces and 50 silver pieces, another with 30 pieces of onyx worth 2 gold pieces each, 4 moderate healing potions, and a barkskin potion. Experience Award. Award the heroes experience for talking with Dulac, as though they defeated her in combat. Area H9. Barricaded Door. This stout iron-bound door swings open to the north. It used to be barred from the north, but after Huglu sneaked in, the Calignis blocked the southern side with rubble for additional security. Moving the rubble to open the door is time-consuming, but not difficult. Area H10. Stairs of Urthagul, a severe level 8 encounter. This long chamber features roughly carved stairs leading upward. Its sides are dotted with nooks, 2 of which contain stone basins filled with muddy water. The basins are similar to and serve the same purpose as those in the Hall of Eyes in Area H2. When Belcorra learned that the Calignis were meeting with Urthagul, she sent a pair of dread wisps here to prevent the Calignis' passage. She doesn't want the Crimson Fulcrum lens to fall into the Calignis' hands, as she sees them as less reliable guardians than the Gug. Creatures. The pair of dread wisps attack any creatures other than Belcorra and any children of Belcorra who attempt to pass. The defeat of the dread wisps trigger the Belcorra attacks event as described previously. Area H11. Carrion Ambush, a low level 8 encounter. Even before the heroes enter this chamber, they can smell putrid stench of carrion and decay. This large, smelly cave opens onto a cliff with a large body of water about 20 feet below. At the edge of the cliff sits a heap of reeking, decomposing carrion. A stream of water flows from the north, past the heap and over the cliff into a narrow waterfall. The pile of carrion was once a huge aquatic reptile that scaled the cliff to escape the predatory Chuls, but died here. Its rotting mass hides a group of children of Belcorra who wait underneath to gain information about, and hopefully capture, Urthagul. They plan to either follow Urthagul if the Gug passes this way, which they don't realise the Gug never does, or capture and interrogate the Calignis, which they don't realise Belcorra has prevented. Creatures. 4 children of Belcorra are hiding in the carrion heap, which counts as a bog for the mummy's abilities. They attack anyone who comes near and fight until destroyed. Area H12. Island Cavern, a moderate level 8 encounter. 4 small streams flow through this chamber, fed by a dark pond against the west wall. The streams divide the chamber into islands, each covered with lichen, mildew and mushrooms. Bioluminescent fungi and strange motes of light bathed the place in an eerie illumination, playing off the water to form odd shapes on the cavern's walls, like humanoid apparitions gliding through the air. Water flowing alongside the sides of the islands echoes off the walls in weird ways, like harsh whispers.
Aravex has risen. There is nothing you can do,
the overlapping echoes say. The sound is hypnotizing and strangely calming. Long gone cultists use this cavern as a meditation chamber to calm their emotions and clear their minds, but it now echoes with subtle whispers of Nimbeloth's alien will. These whispers can be maddening or enlightening, but are usually wholly unintelligible. The northwestern end of this cavern forms a rock wall 10 feet high that leads to a natural bridge 30 feet above the lake to an old cage in Area A13. Urthagul used to leave this way every week or two to hunt for food in the lake, but hadn't bothered to do so while the Calignes were bringing him offerings. Distracting whispers. Creatures in the cavern are immune to emotion effects, but spending time amid the whispers affects the mind. Every minute, a creature in the cave must attempt a DC 24 will save, or become Stupefied 1 or Stupefied 2 on a critical failure, for 24 hours. This condition is cumulative, up to Stupefied 4. The whispers speak a different truth each time a creature here increases its stupefied condition, as follows. A Stupefied 1 creature hears,
"The lenses. She knows the secret of the lenses. 3 are within reach. 1 very close. Other lost by Yldaris. 1 held by the Blood Eaters."
A Stupefied 2 creature hears,
"She keeps them apart while she works her petty vengeance, but the essences shall become one."
A Stupefied 3 creature hears,
"Find the lenses and place their essences together within the host."
A Stupefied 4 creature hears,
"Join the essences within Aravex, and she can fall again. This is a promise of the empty death. A promise of empty death."
The cavern affects aberrations and sorcerers with the aberrant bloodline differently. They don't gain the stupefied condition, but are fascinated while within the cavern. This fascination ends as soon as they leave. If such creatures stay here too long, they involuntarily babble strange truths that echo in the whispers, which is how Urthagul obtained his reputation as a mystic among the Calignes. Creatures. On the northernmost island, amid a nest of glowing toadstools, lurks the Gug Urgathul. He sits haunched, purring and stroking the crimson fulcrum lens in one of his 4 hands. Urthagul has been here for decades, or perhaps longer. While a formidable creature, his fascination with the whispers and the crimson fulcrum lens have taken a toll. He rarely eats, and does so even less now that the Caligni cultists don't visit him. His glowing treasure commands nearly all of his attention. When the heroes enter, Urthagul takes no more notice than a glance in their direction. The heroes can even explore or pass through the cave without rousing Urthagul. If they speak to him, he doesn't respond other than to shift his treasure from one hand farthest from anyone who might try to take it. If the heroes use force against Urthagul or try to take the Crimson Fulcrum lens, he attacks with relentless brutality. In combat, he prefers to use his jaws, supplemented with the powers of the lens. When Urthagul uses his Furious Claws ability, he can only make 3 claw attacks instead of 4, as he doesn't let go of the lens. Urthagul fights to the death to protect his treasure, but he doesn't leave this cavern. Experience Award. Award the heroes 30 experience points for recovering the Crimson Fulcrum lens. Area H13. Isolated Cave. This large metal cage stands atop a natural pillar rising 30 feet above the water. The bars have been ripped and bent, and bones lie scattered about the cage's bottom. The children of Belcorra once imprisoned creatures in this cage. After Urthagul attacked and ate the creatures within, twice, the deep gnomes realised the cage wasn't worth the bother and abandoned it. Area H14, the Rickety Dock, a low level 8 encounter. A lone dock, rotten and rickety, juts out from a shelf of rock. It looks long unused, and no vessel is tethered to its moorings. This dock went unused for many years as the children of Belcorra withdrew from their duties. It's still usable, only with a few occasional mishaps of a collapsing board. The Cult of Urthagul used to dive for chul eggs from it, but they haven't done so since being racked by the trauma of being cut off from Urthagul. Creatures. A pair of chuls hunt in this area, sometimes working together, other times competing for food. They prefer to sneak up on their prey, clambering onto the dock close to the shore so their prey has nowhere to run except into the water. A chul reduced to fewer than 20 hit points flees and doesn't return. Treasure. While the chuls carry nothing of value, heroes who search under the water find their hidden nesting nook some 15 feet below the surface. It holds a cache of 6 chul eggs, 9 gold pieces, 42 silver pieces, and a +1 striking longsword. Area H15, Fetid Lake. These waters are brackish and silty. Dark clouds of fetid air and grimy mist cling to the surface, where it laps at the shore. The water leaves trails of glistening muck. The lake's water was once potable, fresh, and teeming with subterranean fish stocked by the children of Belcorra. After Belcorra's fall, the gnomes allowed and even fostered strange aberrations and other aquatic monsters in the lake. Despite the lake's calm, the visibility at the water level is poor. The mist imposes a -2 circumstance penalty to perception checks. Everything beyond 30 feet is concealed, and visibility ends at about 90 feet. Visibility from a higher point, such as a cliff in Area H11, the pillar in Area H13, or the caves in Area H22, is unobstructed and gives a better view of the lake cavern. Drinking the water can be hazardous but not fatal. There's a 1 in 6 chance that anyone drinking the water is exposed to sewer haze. Fish still live in the lake, blind, ugly, spinous things that are poisonous to most creatures. Eating these fish, even when well cooked, is a slimy and sickening affair that also spreads sewer haze. Other foul creatures living in the lake have built a tolerance to its diseased water and fish. Random encounters. Every 15 minutes that the heroes spend traversing the lake, make a secret DC 5 flat check. On a success, the heroes come across one of the following encounters, determined randomly or at your choice. If the result is a creature the heroes have already faced, treat it as no encounter. With a D10 roll from 1 to 4, the encounter is 1 chul from Area H14. On a result of 5 to 6, 4 children of Belcorra on a skiff from Area H17. On a result of 7, 1 Kruth. On a result of 8, 2 brood leech swarms. On a result of 9, 1 lost deepwater Hutharex from Area I39. And on a result of 10, the frog Hemoth from Area H27, which only fights for 1 round before retreating. Area H16, Monster Cages, a variable level 8 encounter. 7 cages constructed of metal and strange fibrous wood line this beach, each partially submerged in the sinking waters. The children of Belcorra use the cages to trap powerful monsters living in the lake, as Belcorra recently commanded them to do so. It is hard going and involves many setbacks, but the children are used to taking their time to complete their goals. Each cage has a simple latching device, a curved bar leading through metal hoops, that takes 3 interact actions to open or close. The latch can't be reached by a creature inside the cage due to its position. The metal gives the cages strength, and the fibrous wood allows enough give that they're particularly difficult to burst open. Forcing open a cage requires a successful DC 40 athletics check. The cages have wide enough gaps that a medium creature can squeeze through the bars with a successful DC 25 acrobatics check. Small or smaller creatures don't need to squeeze and can simply move through the bars as greater difficult terrain. Creatures. The 3 unmarked cages are empty and open. A C indicates a cage with a chul, a K indicates a cage with a Kruth, an S indicates a cage with a skeletal hulk that was once a large reptilian humanoid. The creatures are furious at their imprisonment, and, if freed, simply attack anyone nearby or flee if reduced to half their hit points. The heroes might be able to negotiate with the chul, although it only speaks Aklo and Undercommon. The chul insists it will simply swim away and not trouble the heroes again if freed. If the heroes seem to need further enticement, the chul offers to reveal the location of several chul eggs in area H15. It goes back on its word only if the heroes seem particularly vulnerable. Area H17, Dock and Lift, a low level 8 encounter. This large T-shaped dock has 4 old skiffs moored to it. On the land side, the dock opens up to a large wooden iron platform. At each corner, an iron chain climbs upwards into darkness. At the south end of this platform sits a large pulley device. Its chains and machinery, as well as the chains on the platform, are crusted with rust. This is the launch point for the Children of Belcorra's increasingly rare lake excursions. The platform is a lift that connects to Area G3, 100 feet above. The big lift once brought food and supplies from the farm level to the upper levels of the vaults. While the rusted machinery can still be coaxed to work, it is slow and often stalls. It's controlled by 4 levers situated in the mechanism on the platform. The controls are unintuitive. Each lever controls a chain pulley on a corner, but each lever pulls at a different rate. It takes 1d4 hours of tinkering to figure out exactly how to control the lift, and such trial and error might ruin the entire mechanism. Roll a DC 11 flat check. On a failure, the mechanism is permanently destroyed. A hero who succeeds at a DC 24 crafting check to repair the mechanism reduces the DC of this flat check to 5, or 1 on a critical success. The lift is marked by a white square on the map. Creatures. 4 Children of Belcorra are repairing a skiff here. When they spot intruders, 3 rush to fight, while a 4th flees to Area H19 for aid. Although there are several caged creatures nearby, the children don't release them because it was such a trouble to capture them in the first place. Instead, if in genuinely desperate straits, the undead either flee to Area H19 or launch a skiff to get aid from Area H21. Area H18, Roper Pen, a moderate level 8 encounter. The entrance to this cave is blocked by a makeshift barricade of wood and iron straps. Its door is barred from the outside, and the bar has the words, "Danger! Do not open!" written on it in Gnomish. The Children of Belcorra keep their largest and most dangerous monsters here. The barricade has obviously been broken and rebuilt many times, but it's sturdy enough to keep its current prisoner contained. Creatures. The cave contains a single roper. The children who discovered the creature took great care to capture it and move it here. They have no idea how to control the aberration, but they're sure that Belcorra will want it for her army. The roper waits at the back of the cave, disguised as a nondescript stalactite. If given the chance, such as if the heroes open the door and then leave, it creeps out into the cave so it can't be imprisoned again. Otherwise, it waits for creatures to step further inside before striking, then fights until destroyed. Area H19, Game Room, a moderate level 8 encounter. 4 small reclining couches circle a small table towards the corner of this L-shaped room. On the table is an elongated game board, split into rows of squares. Various pieces sit in place on the board, and pyramid-shaped dice are scattered about the surface. Some Children of Belcorra retreated from their duties after long years and spend their time gambling on a deep gnome board game called The Dark Chase. Their set is missing several pieces, although it has all 6 required 4-sided dice, but the incompleteness holds a particular attraction to the children. The missing pieces means there's no end state, so the game's never over. The wages around the board are all coloured pebbles that are pretty but not particularly valuable. A simple iron key to area H20 is among the pebbles. Creatures. The 3 children here fight intruders, but they avoid disturbing the game in progress. If a hero damages the game, such as by moving across the square containing the low table, or by damaging the square with a splash or area effect, the mummies focus their rage on that hero. They fight until destroyed. Treasure. The game board is inlaid with semi-precious stones. Even incomplete, the set is worth 80 gold pieces. Area H20. Tomb of the Demilich. A low level 8 encounter. The door to this chamber is locked. The key is in area H19. The lock requires 5 successful DC 30 thievery checks to pick a lock to get open, or a successful DC 30 athletics check to break it down. The door is also magically protected with a glyph of warding, containing a 3rd level fireball with a DC 28 basic reflex save, along with a DC 28 to notice and disarm the glyph. The glyph triggers when a non-undead creature touches the door, even to open it with a key. This chamber is dusty and dry. At its west end sits a stone slab 3 feet high. Atop it lies a small body covered in funeral wrappings. Gosaltith, one of the oldest children of Belcorra, plans to become a Demilich. The other children don't know where he got this idea. None of them have even seen a Demilich, although they've all heard stories of the gem-covered undead skulls with phenomenal spellcasting power. But Gosaltith was adamant that he knew the method. He placed gemstones in his eyes, replaced his teeth with smaller gems, and drilled holes into his head to lodge a crown of crystals in there. He then locked himself in this room to lay and repose, patiently waiting for his body to turn to dust and his transformation to take its final form. He has been here for nearly a century, with no change to his mummified form. Creature. Gosaltith is determined with his unrealistic goal. When the heroes enter, he becomes convinced that he must defeat them to advance his evolution. He arrogantly talks about his pending transformation as he fights. Treasure. Gosaltith's only treasure are the gemstones crafted into his skull. The teeth are a variety of semi-precious stones, 24 in total, each worth 8 silver pieces. His eye sockets each have a clear topaz worth 50 gold pieces, and his crown is 9 bits of quartz worth 3 gold pieces each. Area H21. Ancient's Caves, a severe level 8 encounter. 4 caves atop steep cliffs sit 10 feet above the lake's dark water. These walls have numerous handholds and require a DC 15 athletics check to climb to the caves, or across from one to another. Creatures. 3 children of Belcorra became far too interested in the lore of Nimbraloth, and were blasted with powerful glimpses of the outer god, transforming them into Bodaks. Nursing their pain and resentment, the Bodaks retreated to these caves. The other children acknowledged the Bodaks' power and knowledge, but rarely approached them. The Bodaks dwell individually in these areas, in area H21A, H21B, and H21D. When any Bodak is disturbed, the others clamber over to help, so anyone fighting one of the Bodaks soon fights them all. Treasure. While 2 Bodaks have no treasure, the one that dwells in area H21D has valuables scattered about its cave. A sack that contains 80 gold pieces, 2 platinum pieces, and eyes of the eagle. A greater staff of healing lies discarded at the back of the cave, and a +1 striking short sword is wedged into a crack in the wall. Area H22. Quiet Lake. The western side of the lake has foul water and obscuring mist, like the lake to the east in area H15. This side is less populated, predominantly due to the appetite of the froghemoth lairing to the south. The heroes might have a random encounter here too, but the DC of the flat check for an encounter here is 10 rather than 5. Area H23, Shadowed Dock, a low level 8 encounter. This T-shaped dock has been recently repaired, and a single skiff is moored on the north side. Beyond the dock, a masonry structure juts out from the cavern walls, the drifting mist creating strange shadows on the stonework. At its centre is a single iron-bound door. This dock and building were abandoned decades prior to Belcorra's return. Vethris, the spirit Naga Belcorra recently put in charge of the children of Belcorra, now claims it as her lair. The door to the building is unlocked. Creatures. The shadows playing on the masonry are more than just a trick of the water. A dread wraith haunts this area, acting as a lookout. When it spots strangers, it silently moves to the inner complex to warn Vethris. Vethris peevishly dismisses the dread wraith, commanding it to take care of the problem. The dread wraith then hunts down the heroes, eager to make wraith spawn out of them. Area H24, Mudroom, a low level 8 encounter. This damp room has a recessed floor filled with mud. The mud is only a few inches below the door's threshold, but is 2 feet deep and is difficult terrain. Creatures. 4 children of Belcorra lurk in the mud in the eastern part of this room, bitter at being stationed under the command of the lazy Vethris. They're quick to attack anyone who disturbs the room, but being beneath the mud, they don't notice when the dread wraith flits overhead to warn the Naga of intruders, and aren't likely to notice the heroes are present until the heroes enter the mud. Area H25, Naga Lair, a low level 8 encounter. This room is filled with rugs, tapestries and pillows. Most are stained with mud. This is the lair of the scheming spirit Naga Vethris. Vethris convinced Belcorra that she would do a good job of getting the farm level back into good order and keep the children in line, but she has done nothing of the sort. Vethris spends her days lounging about and ordering her new minions to bring her food and treasures. While the undead are dissatisfied with her, they are loyal to Belcorra, so they'll alternate between grudgingly following the Naga's orders and finding ways to ignore her. Vethris brought pillows and other trappings, but good hygiene isn't one of the Naga's priorities. One tapestry, depicting a stylized nest of intertwining snakes, covers the secret door on the southern wall. Anyone removing the tapestry or searching the room locates the secret door with a successful DC 25 perception check. It's opened by pressing the proper stone on the eastern wall. Creatures. Vethris is lazy, but she snaps into action against any who dare intrude on her relaxation. She screams curses at her foes while casting spells at them. She prefers to use black tentacles to keep her foes at a distance, but then she follows up with Paralyze as often as possible. This is her favourite spell, and it frustrates her that the children of Belcorra are immune to it, and thus she can't use it to discipline them. Vethris surrenders if reduced to fewer than 40 hit points and tries to slither away. If the heroes manage to get here without disturbing the mud in Area H24, the mummies there rise up and fight alongside the Naga. Area H26, Secret Treasury. A glittering mass of treasure sits at the south end of this small room. This is the bulk of treasure Vethris had accumulated, as well as that she tasked her undead to gather. Poisoned treasure. A porcelain teapot in the hoard is slathered with nettleweed residue. Treasure. Once the poison is washed off the teapot, it's worth 40 gold pieces. Scattered about the room are 130 gold pieces, 310 silver pieces, greater braces of missile deflection, a wand of fireball, 3 murderer's knots, a potion of quickness, and a javelin of lightning. A small sack contains 10 saltwater pearls, worth 9 gold pieces each. Area H27, Shores of Death, an extreme level 8 encounter. At this southern terminus of the foul underground lake, a small wooden dock juts out from a stone and masonry building. The dock is in ruins. Its front has been ripped away by a massive force, leaving the rest of it sloping down into the water. The building had a door at the dock's end, but it has been ripped off its hinges, with a chunk of door partially submerged and leaning against the cavern wall. South of the structure, the lakeshore gives way to a forest of massive fungi. The water near the dock occasionally bubbles, as if something massive is dwelling below the surface. A surly froghemoth attacked the children of Belcorra in this outpost, damaging the dock and driving the bog mummies away. It's the source of the bubbles in the water. A hero who succeeds at a perception check against its stealth DC of 38 spots its eye stalk peeping above the fetid water. Creatures. How the froghemoth came to the lake is a mystery, but in the short time it's been here, it has damaged this building and driven away all the aberrations and creatures away from the southern lake. It sometimes makes its way north to hunt, but it's usually lurking under the water by the shattered dock. The children of Belcorra injured the froghemoth more than they've realised. It's afflicted with bog rot that has affected its alien physiology in strange and debilitating ways. Rather than simply being clumsy, the froghemoth has the weak adjustment. A lazy hunter, the froghemoth tends to attack from the water and rarely pursues foes who find shelter within the fungus garden. However, it's vindictive in a way. If it loses at least half of its hit points, there's a chance, with a DC 15 flat check, it becomes enraged and follows its attackers onto dry land. Area H28, Ruined Outpost. The remains of a table and some chairs are scattered about the room. While the western door has been ripped off its hinges, the southern door is intact but open. Two torn, soggy corpses are slumped in the doorway. The corpses are the children of Belcorra who were destroyed in the froghemoth's rampage. While there's nothing value in the abandoned room, there's a secret door on the east wall. A hero searching the room who succeeds at a DC 20 perception check spots the fake flagstone in the wall and can pull it aside with the rest of the secret door. Beyond the door is a narrow passage heading east and then turning north, leading to another secret door of similar design. The children of Belcorra use this passage to gain quick access to the northern reaches of the fungus garden. Area H29, West Garden. While the fungal forest continues to grow high, there are also signs in this area that it was recently tended. Rocks outline sections of healthy growth, and the paths are clear of all but occasional bits of mold or fungus. Bioluminescent moss provides a low, even glow throughout the area, as though intentionally cultivated for the effect. To the east, a wide stone bridge spans a massive chasm. A gigantic iron ladder snakes down into the darkness of the chasm from its other side. Beyond the bridge and ladder, the fungal forest becomes even more overgrown. The children of Belcorra long ago limited their efforts from tending the entire fungus garden to only this western end. With the recent arrival of the froghemoth, they've even stopped their efforts here. The fungus here are harmless. In fact, they're a good source of nutritious food, fungus wood lumber and luminous moss. Area H30, Lumber Shed. This squat stone building looks like a storage room. One of 3 storage rooms in the fungal garden. This building was used to store wood formed from tough fungus fibers. Inside, a pile of fungus wood still sits, along with a bundle of axes and saws used to collect the fungus and cut the boards into shape. Area H31, Tool Shed. This shed has a small hole where the lock used to be, but traces of rust around the hole are all that remain here. The tools once stored here have met the same fate as the lock, and are nothing more than piles of rust around axe handles, wooden shims, and other non-metallic materials. The shriveled corpse of a fat rust monster lies in the center of the room. The children of Belcorra killed it years ago when it got into the tools, and they never bothered to remove it. Area H32, Uninhabited Shed. A moderate level 10 encounter. This simple storage shed is filled with small gnawed bones and discarded scales, and a pungent reptilian reek. The gonatine flesh warp lairing here doesn't know that there's a secret door in the west wall. A hero who searches the room discovers the false flagstone that opens it automatically, as the flagstone has shifted slightly out of place. Creatures. Some time ago, the gonatine escaped from the laboratory level far above and fled all the way here. It has found more than enough to eat in the surrounding fungus garden, so it never ranges far, although it prefers living prey, as it has learned to avoid the nearby lake because of the lurking froghemoth. It hasn't had more than a few small bats or rodents in a month. It's eager for larger flesh. It rushes at the heroes who open the door and attacks with a single-minded fury until slain. Treasure. The repulsive residue of the gonatine's meals contain blood-stained armbands of athleticism. Area H33. Level 8 portal chamber. The round walls of this chamber are deeply carved with flowing runes. The runes are filled with silver and dust. This is another portal chamber containing an inactive teleportation circle. The heroes can connect it to those in the other levels of the Abomination Vaults with the Awakened Portal ritual. Experience Award. Award the heroes 30 experience points for using the Awakened Portal ritual to reactivate the teleportation circle here. Area H34. Eastern Wilds. A moderate level 8 encounter. Across the bridge's span, fungus grows to greater heights, some reaching nearly to the high ceiling of the cavern, 50 feet overhead. The remains of old paths remain here, but most are covered with clumps of smaller fungus or patches of pale slime. Spores drift through the air, and a huge red bloom on the fungi shifts as though in a wind, although there's no wind here. An enormous iron ladder hangs down into a deep chasm. Each link of the chains that hold it up are as large as a human, but the rungs are spaced to give even a small creature an easy climb. The east side of the fungus garden has gone a long time without proper cultivation, which has made it overgrown and dangerous. The paths are somewhat clear, if overgrown, and the rest of the cavern is greater difficult terrain, if it's passable at all. The gigantic iron ladder leads more than 100 feet down to Area I-27. Creatures. The massive patch of fungus closest to the bridge has grown 2 deadly red puffballs. These dragon blood puffballs resemble overgrown flowers, but they soon detach and float towards the heroes to attack with their fatal blooms. They follow fleeing heroes and fight until destroyed in an explosive burst. Area H35. Webbed Crossroads. A severe level 8 encounter. The towering fungi around these overgrown paths are laced in thick webbing. Within are a few humanoid figures, 2 shrouded in webs to see clearly. The webbed corpses are desiccated Erdefan and 2 much more recently killed Drow from Yldaris. It takes half an hour to clear the thick webbing from each corpse. Creatures. The hungry Goliath spider that has made its web here isn't on the ground, but hiding in a crevasse in the ceiling 60 feet above, where it has greater cover. The spider begins its assault with its descend on a web ability to catch prey off guard. If reduced to fewer than 40 hit points, it retreats for the safety of the ceiling crevasse high above. Treasure. The Erdefan carries a jade bauble and a standard grey dark wood shield. One of the Drow corpses has a pouch with dust of disappearance. Area H36. Rounded Wall. A low level 8 encounter. This patch of fungus sits lower than the rest, though it bears no sign of cultivation. Amid the other fungi are bulbous green growths. The back wall of the cavern is visible through a cloud of drifting spores. It isn't natural rock, but a pale, curved, seamless stone. The wall is part of the footprint of the gauntlet high above, and is thus impervious to damage. A secret door in the curved wall provides access to the structure's interior in Area H37. Like the secret door in Area H1, it's easy to find with a DC 15 perception check, but it only opens when a fulcrum lens is placed into its indentation. Creatures. The spores and green growths belong to a Dracothix lairing here. It attacks any living creature that approach, floating upward to reveal its hooked tentacles. If reduced to fewer than 20 hit points, it ascends to the ceiling and tries to float away to the south, If the heroes haven't dealt with the Goliath spider lurking above in area H35, the Dracothix floats right beneath its crevasse. The spider darts out, kills the Dracothix, and retreats into its bolt hole. This might alert the heroes that the spider is there. Area H37, Upper Pit. This large circular room is made of pale stone and covered with dust. At its centre stands a single stone-lipped pit. A twisting ribbon of blue light coils and twists in the air, extending from the ceiling down into the pit. The stone of the ceiling and the walls of the pit undulate in eerie light, as though the stone itself was suffering. This pit leads down through the Gauntlight's lowest levels. The ribbon of energy shows that the Gauntlight is drawing even more power, and the heroes might have seen a ribbon like it in the dungeon's higher levels. A living creature ending its turn within the 5-foot diameter ribbon of light takes 10d6 negative damage with a DC 26 basic reflex save. Unlike the ribbons discovered in the upper levels, this energy doesn't heal undead creatures. The pit leads down over 100 feet to a similar chamber in the Haunting Grounds, in area I-28, and then another 100 feet into the empty vault in area J20, where Belcorra typically dwells. Area H38, Strange Sentry, a trivial level 9 encounter. Toward the end of the fungal path, a masonry structure juts out from the cavern wall, a door at its centre. The structure served as a waypoint where children of Belcorra could converse with their ghost queen through the Wisps. They abandoned this building when they left the Eastern Fungus Gardens. Creatures. A sinister sloth-like monster called a Nilith moved into the structure, but it left a guardian outside, a feeble-minded Medusa it calls Murmur. Murmur stands in front of the door, her hood up, muttering unintelligible words to herself. Murmur isn't likely to pose much of a challenge for 8th level characters, but she's an indication that something strange is afoot. She fights with her bow, which she only barely remembers how to use, if creatures remain at a distance. If foes close in, she drops her bow and flees into area H29 to join her master. Side quest. Restoring Murmur's mind is a challenge, but it isn't impossible. If the heroes restore her, the Medusa introduces herself as Moaden and offers to fight alongside them for a few days before striking off on her own. She's bossy and cruel, so the heroes might not want her aid. She's perfectly happy to depart sooner if the heroes don't want her around. Area H39, Lair of the Dreamer, a moderate level 8 encounter. 3 alcoves in this square chamber are overgrown with a tangle of thin mushroom stalks and creeping flowering vines. The air smells sweet and heady. The alcoves each contain stone basins, like those in areas H2 and H10. They used to provide a connection to the swamps below, but the Nilith lairing here didn't want the interruption. It pulled the muck from the basins, coated their interiors with a fungal resin, and repurposed them as planters to grow vegetation that reminded of its former home in the Dreamlands. If the heroes clean them out, they refill with fetid swamp water once again, and a will-o-wisp appears above each. Their observation triggers the Belcorra attacks event, as described previously. Soporific pollen. The pollen in the air gives living creatures in the room, except the Nilith, a -1 circumstance penalty on will saves. This is an olfactory effect. Creatures. The Nilith climbs around on the vines in this room, idly tending the flowers. It is bored with Murmur and is looking for other minds to twist, but it's willing to engage in conversation first if the heroes seem amenable. It talks about how the basin connects to some malignant swamp far down, and it proudly shows off its means of sealing them with resin to grow its own strange garden. As it talks, it tries to rank the heroes from weakest mind to strongest, so it knows who to target best with its mental attacks. It might propose puzzles or riddles to find this out, or ask the heroes about their recent dreams. Treasure. Hidden deep in the Nilith's hanging tangles is its treasure, consisting of a bag with 253 silver pieces, 3 topaz gemstones worth 60 gold pieces each, a thundering runestone, and a moderate Bravo's brew. Area H40, between a rock and a doorway, a low level 8 encounter. The path ends at a door leading west. A large boulder covered with spidery carvings blocks the cave entrance to the east. The door to this room is locked, and Nazuros in Area H44 has the key. A hero can open it with 4 successful DC 25 thievery checks to pick a lock, or a successful DC 25 athletics check to force it open. The boulder seems impassable, but it's cleverly hinged to open when parts of its surface are pressed into the proper configuration. The elven carvings describe how to move the boulder, but these instructions are intentionally wrong and trigger a hazard as described further ahead. Finding the proper way to move the boulder requires a successful DC 25 nature, perception, or relevant lore check. Alternatively, the hero can roll it aside with a successful DC 30 athletics check to force open, and a small or smaller creature can squeeze past the boulder with a successful DC 25 acrobatics check. Glyph of Warding. The carvings form a glyph of warding containing a 4th level sound burst, DC 28 basic reflex save, DC 28 to notice and disarm the glyph. The glyph triggers when a creature handles the boulder in a way indicated by the elven carvings. The noise also alerts the nearby drow to intruders, and they go on alert. Area H41. Descent into Yldaris, a severe level 8 encounter. Faintly glowing green veins of crystals line the walls of this large cave. To the south, a wide passage spirals into the earth as though created by some massive burrowing creature. The slick green veins crackle with faint electricity when touched, but they aren't harmful. A cave worm burrowed this passageway long ago. It leads to the drow outpost of Yldaris far below, in Area I-1. Creatures. This passage isn't unguarded. A quartet of drow hunters is always on alert here. If they detect intruders, they form a firing line to prevent anyone from getting past them. Although they're quick to attack Calignes, Erdefens, or other enemies they recognize, a group of surface dwellers intrigues them. The hunters keep their weapons at the ready, but so long as the heroes don't attack first, they ask the heroes why they're trespassing in Yldaris territory. Their starting attitude to the heroes is indifferent. If the heroes improve their attitude to friendly, which requires a successful DC 24 diplomacy check to make an impression, they agree to escort the heroes to their leader in Yldaris. 3 drow escort the heroes through areas I-1, I-5, I-6, and I-17 to meet Quara Orshendil. If the heroes improve their attitude to helpful, only a single drow accompanies them. If they can't improve the hunter's attitude, the drow firmly turn them away. If the heroes mention that they rescued Falzan Orshendil from the Warped Brew Kitchen in Area F12, the hunters remember that Falzi mentioned them. The heroes thereafter have a +4 circumstance bonus on diplomacy checks to negotiate entry into Yldaris. The heroes might have earned the trust of the drow in areas H44 or H45. In that case, the heroes don't need to separately win over these hunters. Experience Award. Award the heroes 80 experience points if they successfully negotiate entry into Yldaris from these drow. Area H42. Spider Guard, a trivial level 8 encounter. Sheets of webbing hang on the south wall of this room, between 2 wooden doors. Creatures. A trained hunting spider, the loyal pet of a Droshutus Iribo in Area H44, lairs in this room. The spider whistles shrilly as its first action when it spots intruders, then springs to attack. The noise alerts the nearby drow and bring them running. Together, this is a severe encounter for 8th level characters. Area H43, Cell. This square cell has 2 pairs of rusted manacles bolted onto the wall about 6 feet from the door. The drow recently captured one of the children of Belcorra in the fungus garden and brought her here. She dangles from one of the manacles. They've been interrogating her for information about the layout and the denizens of the level, but the mummy hasn't yet been forthcoming with any information. Creatures. The child of Belcorra realizes that the heroes aren't with the Drow and asks for her release. She makes only vague promises about what she can do for the heroes if released, because she's lying. As soon as they let her go, she flees to warn the other children of Belcorra that the Drow have made significant inroads into the fungus forest. Although the listless mummies aren't likely to act on this information anytime soon. The prisoner knows the denizens and layout of areas H15 and H25, and that there's a froghemoth in area H27. Area H44, Observation Post, a trivial level 8 encounter. This small room appears to be a lookout post. 3 narrow slits line the north and east walls, giving a view of the overgrown fungus garden beyond. The children of Belcorra observe their cultivated and thriving gardens from here, but the post has been abandoned for some time before the Drow of Yldaris discovered it. Creatures. A Drow shootist named Iribo serves as a lookout in this room. She investigates any indication of intruders, such as her pet spider's shrill whistle. In a fight, Iribo attempts to quickly incapacitate her foes with her poison, and calls for the Drow in Area 45. However, she doesn't foolishly throw herself into combat. If she thinks it's possible to negotiate with the heroes, she does so. A longtime friend of the Yldaris leader, Quara, Iribo knows that Quara might have some use for surface dwellers. The heroes can attempt to improve her starting attitude of indifferent, just as they can with the hunters in Area H41. If they improve her attitude to friendly, she personally escorts them to Yldaris. Experience Award. Award the heroes 80 experience points if they talk to Iribo rather than fight her. Award them an additional 80 experience points if they successfully negotiate Iribo's escort to Yldaris, but don't award this additional experience points if the heroes already arranged an escort from the Drow in Area H41. Area H45. Planning Room, a moderate level 8 encounter. This large room might have once been richly appointed, but it is now full of mould and decay. Shattered furniture covers the floor and tattered mildewed speck tapestries hang from the walls. At the north, curtains obscure a wide bay window made of what looks to be transparent stone. The elder children of Belcorra used to plan their lush gardens from this room, but now it's a staging area for the small Drow contingent. The curved floor-to-ceiling bay window provides a clear view of the garden. The window is made from blocks of enchanted stone that are transparent from this side, but resemble ordinary natural stone when viewed from the outside. The Drow stationed here might have gotten a good look at the heroes passing by in Area H34, were it not for the fact that they keep the curtains closed most of the time. Creatures. A Drow hunter named Nyzuros and 4 Drow wardens huddle over a map of the gardens. Their main concern is a Goliath spider that dwells at the Crossroads, as it has already feasted on 2 Drow scouts. They debate whether to risk attacking the spider, gaining significant glory for vanquishing such a dangerous foe, or to summon aid from Yldaris. Nyzuros commands this contingent, even though Iribo in Area H44 is their most respected fighter. Whether the heroes make it this far without alerting these Drow, or they're called into battle by noise, the wardens are hot-headed and quick to attack. Nyzuros is more circumspect, however, and wants to know how and why the intruders have come. Like the hunters in Area H41, he has an indifferent attitude towards the heroes, but his attitude can be improved in the same way, and if made friendly or better, he personally escorts them to Yldaris. The heroes have another option to get into Nyzuros' good graces. If they killed the Goliath spider in Area H34 and promised to let Nyzuros and his team take credit for doing so, his attitude automatically improves to friendly. Nyzuros' forbearance isn't without limits. If the heroes have slain other Drow, he turns against them. Experience Award. Award the heroes 60 experience points if they talk to Nyzuros rather than fight him. Award them an additional 80 experience points if they successfully negotiate Nyzuros' escort into Yldaris. but don't award this additional experience if the heroes have already arranged an escort from the Drow in Area H41 or from Iribo. Area H46, Provisions Room. The door to this room is locked, and Nazuros has the key. A hero can open it with a successful DC 25 Thieveries check to pick a lock, or a successful DC 29 Athletics check to force it open. This room is plainly used for storage. Casks and bundles are stacked against its north and west walls. Treasure. The Drow on this level keep their supplies here, including 6 weeks of rations, 3 casks of water, 2 casks of fungus wine worth 2 gold pieces each, 5 long swords, 6 hand crossbows, 50 bolts, and 50 gold pieces.